Heating and Air Coach's Corner. Fueled by Donut Country and McDonald's on 101.9, 100.5, 1450, WGNSSports.com and BigGTV.
And this portion of the show brought to you by Prentice Allsup Heating and Air, family owned and operated since 1977. Get the best service with Prentice Allsup Heating and Air online at PrenticeAllsup.com. John Dingens back with you, doing the middle portion of our program this morning, and Coach Kevin Creasy joins me here after a big win over CPA last night by a score of 28-14. And Coach, you were the last team to beat them, and they're after another streak, you beat them again.
Yeah, it's making into a really good rivalry.
Yes.
You know, we have historically, I didn't know this, somebody pointed it out, we have the longest win streak in Middle Tennessee back in 2020, 21, 22. It was like 36 games in a row, and CPA broke our win streak.
Right.
Well, they were well on their way to catching us because they had like a 2.5-year win streak going, and then we broke it last night. So we took a little bit of pleasure in knowing that we did that to them.
Exactly. And, man, it was some hard hitting at the beginning of that game, and tied it at halftime. We'll talk about that in a second, but I'm going to start with the bad first, and then we'll talk about a lot of good. But penalties were rampant last night. Now, I'm not one to be partial, but I guess I can because it's not. They're not. But it was really one-sided a lot against you guys last night.
I'll say this: I thought the officials did a good job because we were guilty of holding, and we were guilty about 10 times in a row. We were holding, but it was frustrating to look up and see that we held 10 times in a row and they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we were saying. You know, we're probably guilty, but they're not playing perfect over there now. So let's see what's going on, because at one point it was like 10 penalties to 0.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
so that's that gets you scratching your head, because I'm not saying that we were completely innocent. I think there were some guys that maybe got outside the framework and held on some plays. But, you know, that's what you get week one. Week one, you get a lot of flags, and that's what we wanted in our scrimmages. We wanted a bunch of flags in our scrimmages so we could get it cleaned up. And to tell you the truth, we hardly had a flag thrown in our 3 scrimmages.
Yeah.
So there was a lot thrown last night, and it was things that can be corrected. And I guess
you learn through adversity, though, don't you? I mean,
I'd rather have the adversity in a teaching time during a scrimmage, but you know, it's hard to call plays when it's 2nd and 20, and you know, when you just got a 10-yard gain. So I think those kind of games are what you schedule hard opponents for. I mean, if it's 1st and 10 and then all of a sudden you get a holding penalty, it's 1st and 20, well, that's easy to overcome against a team that's not very good. But against a well-coached team, you better dig deep in the playbook on those 1st and 20 calls, and we had several of them last night.
I thought you did a great job last night of getting a lot of people in, particularly early. You know, we had Haggard in, we had Millsap. I mean, there were a lot of guys playing and playing well. And I know it was mentioned somewhere, well, Tut's not playing a whole lot. I said, well, you know, we have to realize that Tut is also playing defense, you know. And I said, you gotta save a little energy for that. He can't do everything every time. But he had a great second half. But it was 14-14 and a great battle. And then all of a sudden, and I always say this about you, when they come out of halftime, I said I would love to be a fly on the wall in that locker room just one time to hear Coach Creasy, because the adjustments that are made, but that defense just got doggone stingy. I mean, and the secondary, there were times where you weren't rushing anybody, and the secondary was holding them. I mean, it was one of the best performances I've seen defensively in a half anyway, in the second half of that game. Well,
you look at how easy they marched the ball down that first drive. I mean, it was just like a machine, like we seen on film last year. They just went right down the field on us, and to know that our adjustments at halftime were so crisp and relevant and productive it's not one of those deals you walk in at halftime and you're just screaming and hollering and all that. Coach Watson's calm. He's on the board. He's drawing up a few tweaks, and after that, they didn't get a first down in the second half.
Yeah.
Didn't get a first down. So that makes life a little bit easier on the offense whenever the defense is shutting them out and giving us good field position. There were a lot of people stepping up on offense, but essentially it was the defense that gave us the ball in great position.
And looking at that, I think I'm not the greatest statistician in the world when I'm keeping stats at a game, but I think it was like 9 yards of offense for them in the second half. And I don't throw one out to David Watson. I mean, the years that he's been with you and being able to keep your coaching staff together, that's a really important thing I think a lot of people don't realize, but he's one of the best, really.
Yeah, no doubt. One of the best minds out there offensively and defensively. He's just a football coach, and me and Coach Watson, we're buddies, and obviously he cares enough about me to stick around.
Yeah.
He could have taken a bunch of other jobs, but he loves Oakland most off, and then he loves being around our coaches, and we got a good staff, and like I said, we all get along with each other, but he's the head coach of the defense, and he's got things rolling, and he was a little disappointed, the way they started the game, and then we give up a cheap touchdown in the secondary. So there was a little bit of voices raised, I guess, with our secondary coach, because we have one of the best secondaries we've had since 2016, when Jacoby Stevens and Caleb Oliver and Wanye Moton were back there at safety. Now we've got Joel White, Haggard, and Craig Tutt, 3 Division I players back there now. So for us to give up a seam route for a touchdown is just uncharacteristic, and they deserve straightened out. But once they got things fixed in the secondary, and our D-line played great and freed up our linebackers, Trayvon Jackson and Cullen Williams were our leading tacklers. So that says a lot when your D-line's taking up gaps and leaving your linebackers to run free and make tackles. I thought it was huge, and give our D lineman credit. Our leader for our D line is a senior, Cam Sanders. He's the only senior we got that is playing D line. Had an injury earlier, and we were a little worried about who was going to step up, but Patterson came in, and Patterson's a well-known name in the Oakland walks, and so we were happy with the way he played, and it's just one of those deals where you got a quality opponent week one. Well, we've had key injuries. Preston Rose started for us as a sophomore last year, one of the best offensive linemen in the region. Well, he got hurt, and so we had to start a freshman. And I think Coach Edie got our O-line ready. So when we look up and we got Trent Gibbs starting as a freshman and dominating, it's a big deal. We've got 2 sophomore offensive linemen that are dominating at the point of attack. Michael Akese and Marlon Mixon. That's who CPA's coaches came and talked to us about at the end of the game.
Yeah.
It was how well Marlon was finishing blocks, and Okese was finishing blocks, and they were impressed with Will Millsap, a guy that's 5'8", 160 pounds, and just playing his guts out. Our kicker, all-region kicker, looking like he's going to have a great year, Jose Hernandez, has been injured this week. So, I think we were a little worried, but we had a little sophomore that kicked off for the first time in a varsity game, and he was nervous as he could be. Landon Ross did a great job of kicking off.
He sure did.
I mean, a great job of just pinning those guys in. It's the first time he's ever played varsity football. Malachi Frierson, he went in and kicked our extra points, and I mean, he
didn't miss one, did he? I don't know.
No, he was perfect. 4 for 4, and was about to kick a field goal there at the end, but ultimately he started last year at Independence and got beat out, and instead of just crying about it and quitting and going and finding another sport, he stuck with us, and we've stuck with him. And so Jose goes out this week, and we got a guy that's ready to roll and step up, and I thought that happened time and time again last night.
And there was a snap that was kind of off of the last extra point that he kicked.
Yes, and we've got a sophomore snapper, but luckily we got a senior holder. Matthew Moore's got the best hands on the team, and he catches the low snap and puts it back up there on the tee. And people don't think about how important that kind of stuff is until things go bad and you lose by 1 point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we had some guys step up. Everybody's going to hear about the Craig Tutts and of the world and Joel Wyatt's. They're going to play great because they're great players no matter what.
And Bass had a good third quarter.
It's these guys that are seen as role players that are really the critical elements of your team. Kamani Bass weighs 129 pounds, and he had 109 yards rushing against one of the best teams in the state.
Really quickly before I let you go, I want to talk about the quarterbacks because I thought they played well. One thing they didn't do, they didn't make any mistakes. They handled the ball well. They alternated well when you used them in. There were some big runs by Cameron there late in the game. In fact, he adds another little dimension to your play, and the passing game was good. You didn't ask them to do a whole lot, but what they did, they were successful.
Well, I listen to this show sometimes and I hear about all these big time quarterbacks going to these other teams and how great they are, and I'm telling you, I'm going to brag on my quarterbacks because I coach the quarterbacks and I know how far they've come, and we've got two talented kids that are learning our offense, and it's pretty complicated. There's a lot that goes into playing quarterback, and for them to go in, Cam Morton, Dante Cameron, every other snap, doesn't matter who's in. If we call a run with the quarterback, they're both able to run. If we call a pass with the quarterback, they're both able to pass. They started the game with 7 straight completions. 7 straight completions. There's 6 seniors in CPA secondary, so they know what they're doing. For us to go out with 2 kids that don't even have a driver's license and for them to play quarterback in this game and complete their first 7 passes, I think they were 10 for 13 passing for like 150 yards.
They were so interchangeable,
too.
They
had 50 yards rushing and a touchdown, some big third down conversions with their arms and their legs. Like I said, we called a game that put them in position, to really not necessarily succeed, but show us what they could do in big ball games.
Well, it was a 3rd and 20. I remember that one. And they made a completion not once, but twice.
Right.
And pretty amazing. They were interchangeable is what I'm going to say. Well, we're out of time, but I talked too much, I guess. But anyway.
There's a lot to talk about.
It sure was. A big win for you. And next week, who do you have?
We've got Huntington High School out of West Virginia, lost by 1 point to the state champs. So they're one of the top teams in West Virginia, and we're meeting them in Kentucky. It's going to be a kickoff classic and going to be a heck of a game.
Coach, you don't lighten up on that schedule, do you?
Man, these guys, like I said, I just watched them on film for the first time this morning, and they are incredible.
Well, good luck next week, and appreciate the hospitality last night, too. The press box looks great, by the way.
Absolutely.
All right, that's Coach Kevin Creasy, the head coach of the Oakland Patriots, who had a big win over CPA last night. This portion of the show brought to you by Sir Pizza, whose 3 Murfreesboro locations offer a huge selection of mouth-watering pizzas, sandwiches, pastas, and wings. Order your favorite pizza online at sirpizzatn.com.